What's up, everyone? Thank you for checking out and supporting this episode of Raise the Geek. This week, we look back and talk about some of our favorite movies of 2024. Did your favorite make our lists? Let's find out this week. I'm here with Tony and Don. How we doing, guys?
Chris, what is up today, my friend? And Tony, my other friend. Everything is all right. Can't complain too much. Good to see you gentlemen again after the holidays, little holiday break for the show and doing life. But I am okay. Excited to talk about some of my favorite movies and hear yours. Here's some stuff. Be fun. This will be a fun one. So everything's okay. How are you, Tony?
I'm doing good, Happy that the stress from the holidays is over.
Yeah.
Seems like the time leading up to it is always like, oh my God, it's happening. It's finally here. And now that it's gone, it's kind of like, just a little bit of a relief.
Yep.
So yeah, new year. Got to remember to write 25 instead of 24 on stuff. So
You still write dates?
Sometimes you just got to write dates, man.
Sometimes you do gotta write dates, and like it does take that first month or so you gotta remind yourself, like, oh yeah.
What's embarrassing is when it's like June and you still do it. You're like, why did I write 24?
I feel like I was just
Randomly pops up.
I feel like I was just getting used to writing 24. Like I was still in 23 mode for like most of the year. But yeah, everything's all right.
Yeah, it's always nice to get the break and to get the disturbance sometimes, but like Tony said, the stress sometimes becomes a lot, and then the anticipation of what's going to happen, and then now I'm kind of almost excited to be like, okay, a normal week at work where everybody's there, and we can move on instead of you're in those 2-week holding patterns sometimes.
The one thing I'll say I'm not excited for is, well, we're recording this on Sunday, so tomorrow's Monday, like the 6th, and it's like the first day everybody's back at work now because some people were still like lingering on vacations for the last week. So traffic is going to be in full force.
Oh yeah.
I was very much enjoying getting to and from work easier. Now, back to the bullshit.
Yeah. Well, before we move too far into the bullshit that is 2025, we want to look back at 2024. We've been having a lot of conversations and trying to figure out what movies came out this year. What did we watch this year? How many did we really watch? You don't really think about everything that comes out, but we wanted to pick our 5 favorite movies each. Might be some overlap. We don't know what these movies are, but we wanted to talk about them live right here with you all.
Yeah, we did something like this last year. I think last year we included also did like comic books and video games and TV shows, but I barely read any comics this year.
I bought a lot of comics.
Yeah, I bought a lot of comics. Games we kind of talk about here and there. TV, man, I tried to think about it. I was like, if we were doing TV, would I even have anything? Like I liked The Penguin, and I can't name another TV show that I've really watched this year. So yeah, we're gonna stick to movies.
Yeah.
Number one. Movies are number one.
Yeah. Tony, do you have a show? What's your show? Penguin's the only thing we watched. What did you watch?
I was probably one. No, I feel like I watch a lot more shows now than I do this year than I did movies.
So I did watch Squid Games. I watched Squid Game season 2, so I got that in.
I watched the first couple episodes, and yeah, it was Did you watch episode 1 yet, Don?
No.
Oh man, you're gonna know exactly what Chris was talking about when it happens.
Oh wait, doesn't Squid Game count as a 2025 show?
It premiered
Released
on
in
Christmas
24.
Eve.
Okay.
Technically, it made the cut, but like I'm a big fan of Shrinking. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I watched a lot of more TV shows this year than I did movies, which is weird for me. But I don't know if that's just something as I get older, where I'm just like, I'll dedicate myself to 4 episodes in a row because it's a half hour instead of going, I can't watch a 2-hour movie. I don't know. It just seems easier.
Just the attention span for a season of TV show to me seems daunting now. Being like, oh, there's 10 episodes and they're an hour each. And first thing in my brain is that's 10 hours.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So I fucking put on a football game or put on a video game instead. It's
or
like
10 hours. I'll sit here for 12 hours watching football all day.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, maybe I'll get some more TV in 2025. We'll see. But light TV year for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. But it was not light for movies. I feel like I know I I don't know if I shocked you all for saying I watched 48 movies this year that came out in 2024. Not total. I watched more movies that didn't come out in 2024, but let's talk about number 5. Which one of you guys want to go first?
How about I go? I'll go.
I'll go first, Don. No, I'm
Okay,
kidding. Go ahead. Please, you go ahead.
No, please, I insist. Please, Tony. Tony
All
first.
right. So my list is weird because I didn't realize that I started panicking when you guys said you wanted to do this, and I'm like, I don't think I've seen any movies in 2024 that were new movies, but apparently I did. But my list was like maybe 10 movies that I had to choose from, so my top 5 might be a little weird. But
That's why we call this like favorites, not best of. We're not like the Oscars or something saying this is the most profound movie I've ever seen. No, it's out of the movies we've seen. What are your favorite 5?
What
Yeah.
did you enjoy? What impacted for you? No matter what
Sure.
it was, no matter how
Yeah.
it could be panned. You could be like Joker 2. The whole world hated Joker 2. I loved Joker 2, and it was my favorite movie. Then it is, you know.
No, it's not.
I know.
I didn't see it.
I watched it.
Did you? Oh, you finally caved, huh?
I watched Joker so we could talk about Joker, and then I watched Joker 2 when it hit HBO.
I remember that day you were talking about. You're like, they really want me to watch this. I don't know if I'm gonna or
Oh, I
not.
already watched it before they did that, but
Oh,
that was when I looked at HBO and every category was Joker 2, Joker 2, Joker 2. They're like action, thriller, horror.
gotcha.
Anyway, sidebar,
So,
weird sidebar. Tony, what's
yeah.
number 5?
All right, so my number 5, like I said, my list was kind of slim pickings, but one of the ones that I did watch that came out in 2024 was Quiet Place Day One, which is at my top, which is at my number 5 spot because I enjoyed it, man. I thought it was really good. I loved the first one. I liked the second one because Cillian Murphy was there, and though this isn't like, you know, it doesn't complete the trilogy traditionally as like the third one there. I've always enjoyed, and my wife really likes, um, you know, these catastrophic event movies. She likes when you can see it from the beginning. She likes where, you know, if you're watching a zombie apocalypse movie and it takes place in the middle of it, it's like, okay, you're already in the chaos that's happening, but it's kind of cool to see it when it starts and where everything begins. So yeah, I really liked it. I like both of the actors in it. There was a couple little Easter eggs and crossovers with some of the other movies that were in there. But I liked it, man. It made me jump like 3 or 4 times, and the Quiet Place movies usually do. I think they do a really good job with their, you know, with whoever's scoring these things and their production design and the sound design, to where I get a couple really good jumps out of it, and I'm usually pretty happy. So that definitely made my my number 5 for my list.
I did not expect that movie to hit me in the feels as much as it did.
Sure.
Like I'm watching that movie expecting one thing and got something completely different, and I was not mad about it.
There was a really nice story involved there, and it was really cool, and you had, like, that human touch to it, not just the survival, but, like, there was not to give away anything to anybody, but 'cause I don't know, like, if we're doing spoilers for 2024 stuff, but the writing was just it was done really well, and in that, like, limited amount of time where it is kind of a fast-paced, movie, and the aliens are fast, and they're moving, and stuff's going on around you, they told this story, and it didn't feel rushed, and yeah, I dug it, man. So yeah, that was my my number 5. Did either you? Oh, Chris, you saw it. Don, did you see it?
I have not, so I appreciate the no spoilers.
Yeah.
I do still want to. I know it's streaming somewhere now, right? Like HBO or something.
Yeah, I think it's on HBO or Netflix. It's one of them. But yeah, and I can't remember that actor's name from Stranger Things, but I like him. And
Dan Stevens?
Yeah, whatever he's been in, I'm like, he's good, you know? So yeah,
Oh, he's about to be your Human Torch pretty soon, and I
Oh
think
yeah, he
that's
is.
right. I just saw a screenshot of that. Yeah.
wasn't he the main dude in Gladiator 2? Another one I didn't see.
No, that was
Or-
Paul
Me too.
Mescal.
No, he's the villain.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
It's pronounced Pedro Pascal.
No, Paul Mescal
I know.
is also. Oh, okay.
Chris is like, actually.
I'm sorry, Tone, but
Sorry, Tone.
All right.
John, what you got for number 5?
Okay. As you guys know, I'm kind of in Tony's same boat. I have kind of a limited amount of movies to choose from, but I was able to find some favorites. And even more limited for me is actually going to the movies to see things. I probably make it to the movies like 4 or 5 times a year. But this one was, and it was recent. So I had to think about it. It was between this and another movie, which I can tell you what that would have been later.
I forgot that you're still making up your mind on your number 5 as we speak.
Yeah, I finally did. I gotta go one way or the other. I don't think I can go wrong on either one. But number 5 for me is Nosferatu, which I did go see.
You did?
Yeah. So it's just pretty good. Like, you can usually tell you like a movie when you don't know how you're feeling while you're watching it, but then it kind of just sticks with you for the rest of the day and the day after, and you're thinking about things and going it over it again in your mind. You're like, oh wow, that was impressive. Like, this to me was one of those kind of movies. Uh, Robert Eggers, I'm a fan of, and he just makes really good movies. And you could tell from the trailers, just this movie is shot really well. It's beautiful. The cinematography, the gothicness of it, the settings, the performances are really pretty good. I mean, Willem Dafoe kills it. Uh, Bill Skarsgård as Nosferatu is great. I feel for this guy because he's just going to be typecast for the rest of his career, like always playing some weird, creepy creature kind of thing because he does it so damn good. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's not too long, but it does have a little bit of some pacing issues sometimes, but it's okay because when it really gets into the parts that are trying to drive home what this movie is, like, it's really good. Um, and scary, just fun. I don't know. I just had a lot of fun with it. Could have probably been higher, but I got some other movies ahead of it. So yeah, man, I think it's a good movie. Uh, for anybody, if you're a fan of that director or spooky stuff, that's not too crazy scary, but still like gives you the spooky feels. It's a good one. So yeah, that's me. Nosferatu at 5.
Nice. Yeah, that's on my list of things that I need to watch, but didn't have time to watch
Yeah.
it by the end of the year.
I kept checking show times, but it was still just like that holiday rush, so the theaters were still kind of just that little bit too full for me to be like, yeah, I want to go right now. So I'm hoping to get it in, or I'll just wait a couple weeks.
It'll be somewhere.
I was trying, like I said, I know we talked about it, the recency bias there too. I was, like I said, after I watched Strange Darling, I was like, I'm done.
No more.
No more, no more. But with recency bias and everything, here I will talk about my number 5, which was one of the last 2024 movies I watched, which was A Real Pain with Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin.
You got to see it. Nice. I'm jealous.
It was outstanding. It was a nice 30-minute movie, and I kind of finished it, and I was like,
30-minute movie.
30?
90-minute, sorry.
Oh, I was like,
It's only
whoa.
30 minutes, guys. No, it's 90 minutes, so it's a quick ride. It's exactly what you think it is from the trailers. It looks emotional because it is. It looks funny because it is. It's a type of movie that they just don't make anymore, where it's just kind of like a nice, tight story that has meaning and has purpose. Jesse Eisenberg, I didn't watch his first movie that he wrote and directed. I think it's called like something about the end of time or something. I saw it when I was looking into this, but once again, conveniently forgot what it was called. But it was just the two cousins going through Poland, trying to connect with their Jewish roots, but then also connect with each other, connect with society, connect with just going through and just really looking at it. Was called A Real Pain because they were looking at levels of pain that people go through on a daily basis through a lifetime. And it's just one of those ones that stick with you. And that was one where I watched it and I finished it and I was like, okay, that was really good, but is it gonna stay with me? And after about a week or pushing a week, I still think about that movie and I still think about some of the lines that were in there and just think about some of those feelings, and they just kind of hung in there. So I was like, I think it edged its way up here kind of last minute and got onto my list, which I thought about. So it's definitely a good one worth checking out.
Very
With
good.
that. And what it
That's awesome.
reminded me of was, as Tony mentioned, the holidays and talking about just that stress that goes into that. And, I was traveling and doing all the stuff for holidays with my family and seeing all that. And I was really grateful for my magic mind to come into play here and really work with that mental health aspect of using it for anxiety. I know I always used it kind of as a pre-workout thing and kind of get that boost, but using it over the last 2 weeks for anxiety purposes has been kind of awesome. So it was kind of reminded me watching a real pain and feeling that, you know, I'm like, those guys could probably use some magic mind.
Dude, just generally taking it and just feeling more balanced, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is where my baseline I'm supposed to be, and just feeling generally better about things.
Yeah.
It's
I was
awesome.
sitting there watching the Bears earlier today, and I was sitting there and I was starting to feel myself get anxious because it was the Bears. And I was feeling
Sure.
myself get anxious, and I was feeling myself being like, maybe I should just play a video game, or I should read a book or do something else. Maybe I can't handle this. And then I was like, I'm gonna take a magic mind. And I did. And I chilled out and just watched the rest of the Bears game. And I
Awesome.
was glad I did. It turned out well.
Mental health also goes along with like being conscious of what you're drinking. You know what I mean? Like you something to help your energy instead of drinking a whole pot of coffee with a bunch of creamer and sugar, or like slamming a energy drink or something full of sugar. Like you have this magic mind instead when you want your energy, which is like all those natural ingredients
Right.
and a couple calories and a little quick shot that you can just be, you know, start and finish really quick. So that definitely probably, I'm sure, helps mental health too. It does for me anyway.
Yeah, well, it helps when you know that this product is like, you know, doctor approved ingredients that are put in this, tested through third parties, sourced from the best suppliers. You know, all those things help with your mental health and your mental awareness of being kind of aware with that. And when you have a 100-day refund policy, if you don't like it, I mean, you really can't
Got
go
nothing to
wrong.
lose.
You give it a
Yeah.
shot, and if it doesn't work for you, not every supplement works for me, but I love when I find one that does. And magnesium's another one that I've been taking, and that helps me a lot since I've been off of my Adderall. Um, pop a magnesium, pop a magic mind, I'm good to go. So it's super awesome. And if you're interested in 2025 and your mental health, Magic Mind right now for the month of January is offering 45% off a Magic Mind bundle if you use our link, magicmind.com/raised a geek Jan, for January. So that's magicmind.com/raised a geek Jan. Links in the description below. They'll save you 45% off a bundle, no risk, 100% refund, even up to 100 days. So why not give it a shot and see if you can make 2025 a better mental health
Year.
Yeah, come on, let's start this year better. 2024 sucked.
Let's do it.
Let's do 2025 right with some Magic Mind and our number 4 movies. So who went for Don?
I think
Why
why
don't me to
don't
go back to
you,
back.
yeah, why don't you go? Why don't you go for number 4 first?
My number 4 movie. It moved all up and down my list, but it's another one. I stuck really heavy with my movies of what ones I kept thinking about after I watched it, which ones I really just kind of enjoyed. And I really, really enjoyed Heretic with Hugh Grant. And that movie, I sat there for the whole length of that movie, never knowing where it was going, believing everything that was happening in that movie. A movie's about just Hugh Grant as a rogue theologian who's trying to prove what God is. And he's doing it in the most horrifying ways. But Hugh Grant, you can tell, was having the time of his life making this movie. Like everything about his performance was just, you just couldn't stop watching him. And he looked like he was having so much fun, like terrorizing these two Mormons that came to his door. And he just was, and it was like way he performed it just sucked you in. And you sat there watching this, and everything he said you bought, and everything the girl said you bought. So you never knew exactly where that movie was going until it went there. And that's rare. A lot of times you can kind of see where they're going. And the fact that I just, for whatever reason, this movie stayed ahead of me and I loved it. And it's one I'm going to watch multiple times because I dug this one a lot.
I think I saw one thumbnail about this and heard nothing about it, knew nothing about it, and it was completely under my radar. So I'm glad you picked that because now it's on my radar and it sounds like something that would be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it was fun. It's once again not a super long one. It gets in and gets out, does its thing. It has enough horror and kind of unsettledness and creepy and imagery and practical effects, and it has some like crazy moments. But then you have Hugh Grant that's just killing it on top of it and just having the time of his life, like he seems like he's been doing in this kind of revival of Hugh Grant being and everything. And something that I couldn't have seen him make 10, 15, 20 years ago, but now he's just like, fuck it, I'm just going to make movies and have some fun, and it translated to the audience, I thought. So totally,
Nice.
totally worth checking out Heretic when you get an opportunity.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check that one out also. Uh, this issue keeps coming up with, for some reason, I don't know why in years past, I feel like all these movies were more easily accessible on like streaming by now.
Yeah.
everything I go to look for is like, buy it, buy it, buy it. I was like, I don't want to buy it. I want it to be on one of the things I already pay for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So
That's why in 2025 I'm going to stop paying for those things. I'm just going to pay for the movies that I want to watch.
You're probably better off because half the times when it's like, oh, is it on streaming yet? No, it's not. Okay, I'll watch something else that's on streaming, and then I'm disappointed with what I watched on streaming, and it's like, oh,
all
I
right.
could have spent the money and just bought that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I hate having that hold up, and I know it's a weird sidebar, but I hate that hold up of being like, I can rent it for $6, or I bet I can wait and it'll be on something. But then it never shows up. Did Longlegs ever show up on anything yet?
No, you still got to purchase it.
You
Yeah.
still have to rent that, but I've been waiting for weeks, months for it to pop up on something, and it hasn't. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
should have just bought the damn thing.
I haven't seen it yet, and I should have just bought it too.
Anyway,
What's Heretic streaming on?
I rented it.
See?
Yeah.
Which means I'm not going to watch it until 2026.
Yeah, you got to bank for it. Oh shit. Anyway, yeah, weird sidebar.
Anyway, weird sidebar. Sorry.
I can go next. Yeah. Speaking of people who like, you feel like now at this point in their career, they're just like, fuck it, I'll just be in anything and make whatever I want. And not a lot of suspense to it because Chris just said it, but number 4 is Longlegs for me.
As soon as I said it, I was like, I probably shouldn't have said anything.
No, it's fine. Yeah, Nicolas Cage. He's kind of like that guy too, who just like, at this age in my career, at this point, I'm just gonna make whatever I want. I'll make silly, weird shit with singing showbiz pizza people, or like a beautiful movie like Pig or whatever, and then or I'll just be a serial killer, occult guy in Longlegs, and he just did it. And like the first scene of this movie is amazing to me. I still think about it, and I only saw it the one time. I wanted to watch it again, but again, it's not streaming anywhere yet. It's an amazing first scene. This movie just has like it's not the same as these movies, but like if you want something to feel like Silence of the Lambs or Seven or something like that, that's what this movie kind of is to me. It just has those same feels. I know it got advertised really hard. It's like, this is a super horror thriller and Longlegs. Oh my God, he's so creepy. And like, it's not that kind of movie. This is a crime, like a creepier episode of Law and Order or something. You know what I mean? It's just like kind of like that. Like, and the
It's
girl,
like a detective thriller.
it's a detective thriller with some occultness to it, and Nicolas Cage is really good. I think in he's not in the movie a ton, but he's really good in the scene. He eats up the screen when he is on it, and it's just like another movie. When I left the theater, I was like, I don't know how I felt about that, but why am I thinking about it for 2 weeks after I saw this movie? That's just kind of what this is. So really, really good. I can't wait to watch it again when it's finally somewhere accessible to me that I don't have to pay money again. But yeah, for all those reasons, Longlegs, number 4 for me.
Nice.
Tony?
My number 4 is I think it was straight to Netflix or straight to wherever it was, because it was supposed to have a theatrical release and
Red One.
it went terribly south. No. My number 4, man, I got a soft spot for Westerns, especially those with Kevin Costner, man. I picked Horizon.
Nice.
Number 1. I think there's going to be 3. I don't know.
I was about to say that made it to theaters. It just didn't do well, and part
just
2 got
bombed.
delayed. Yeah, it bombed.
And part 2 got bumped. But you know, it was advertised as, oh my God, this is going to be this amazing epic saga, which it set the tone for, and I think it has a ridiculous running time, which I was worried about, which is why I didn't see it in theaters. But when I sat down on the couch to watch it, like, it flew by. I enjoyed a lot of it. It's not a perfect movie or anything, but it really introduced a lot of these characters that I'm looking forward to seeing the other ones, which is why I was really bummed to find out that the second one had been delayed.
Right.
But it's been a while since I've seen a newer Western that I wasn't completely disappointed in. So I was happy with it. You know, I don't know if either of you guys took the time to watch it. I don't think it's your cup of tea, but I liked it.
No, I have it listed. I booted it up. I actually booted it up on a plane when I was flying around this year, and they were
Yeah.
like, they had it. I said, you know what? I got a couple hours to kill, obviously. Let me watch this movie. But as soon as I put it on, this was like, this movie has been edited for length, and I was like, nope. I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna watch a butchered version of the movie. So I'd watch something else. But I
You
do
gotta watch.
plan on it. And I would like to. Hmm.
You gotta watch it as it's intended to be watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they also probably cleaned it up because airlines, they clean up some of those movies and
Oh,
do
I'm
edits
sure.
for them. So I think they cleaned it up to a degree. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna watch an edited version of this movie.
Yeah. And like, I just watched Appaloosa again the other day and then Unforgiven as well. And it's like, yeah, obviously doesn't have the same chops as like some of these other more modern Westerns, not, that recent, but still, man, I think it holds its own. I dug the characters and the writing. And like I said, I like Kevin Costner in Western. So, I'll check it out.
I'm sorry I keep doing this, but it's a perfect thing to say. But we were watching on Christmas on like some Western channel that's on my dad's free TV. They were doing a Clint Eastwood just like Western marathon all day
Yep.
Christmas. So we were watching like for a few dollars more. And we sat down for like Christmas breakfast, and my mom was like, "Can you turn off this horse music?" And my dad goes, "It's not horse music, it's murder music." And no, and I died, and I just was laughing. I was just like, "Yep, that's funny." But yeah, they were still going at it, and that was what we listened to. And then my mom put Christmas music on her phone and started playing that over. It was a whole thing.
Drowning it out.
Drowning
Sounds
it
like
out. But
chaos
it's
at your
not.
parents' house.
That's not horse music. That's murder music. And I was like, "That's perfect."
And no.
And no. So anyway, number 3.
Good pick. Love a good Western.
You want to go with number 3, Don?
Oh, sure. I'll start. Number 3 for me, I guess I will. Yeah, this list is fine. Dune 2, Dune Part 2 is number 3 for me. This one was hard because it could maybe be higher. But again, the recency bias of I haven't seen Dune 2 since March or February, whenever it came out. So I know though, like I know when I put it on this list, I was like, I know I loved that movie. And I do. From like thinking back to it, just like and me and Chris did an episode on it, both like praising it. So you can go back to that too. But just like the scale of the movie and the all the expectations you had for it coming out of the first one were like met and exceeded, I think. Just man, like hard sci-fi. Everybody in the movie was great. From Timothy Chalamet to like that whole cast, everybody played their role. And I don't know, Tony, did you see that movie? You saw Dune 2?
I didn't watch it yet. It's on my list. And when I was going to try to watch it for this, it was too long.
It is. That is the thing. It is long.
I saw it and I was like, you could try to fit this in. And I'm like, I'm going to have to break this up between like 3 viewings. I didn't want to do that. I want to sit and watch it in its entirety.
I gotcha.
Do you watch Squid Games instead?
I won't do any crazy spoilers, but like this movie pretty much delivered on everything that you thought it would if you're a fan of that series, or that franchise rather. There's a scene in this movie which I won't spoil, but it's one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a film. Yeah, I won't go any further than that, but it's pretty damn good. Like everything that you could imagine from a blockbuster that's still good at the same time. Like a lot of times blockbusters are just like, all right, it was good, it was flashy, it was shiny, it was loud,
But
but
it
it
had
was
no
still,
soul.
yeah, it was kind of just like, this is just like a studio's way of making $1 billion. Now, this movie did that at the same time, on top of being a really good movie with a really good script and really good acting. And I can't think of the guy's name who played the villain, the guy who was in Elvis. What's his name?
Austin Butler.
Austin Butler, like totally came in and just fucking killed it. Like, dude, you're a scary motherfucker. It was just a good time from start to finish. Like one of those long movies that doesn't feel long when you're watching it, just because you're so engaged.
Yeah.
So definitely had to be on this list, and I have it at number 3.
Nice.
My number 3. And I said it earlier, and Don already said it, but mine is Longlegs. I put that in my number 3. I haven't stopped thinking about that movie since I saw it. I did rent it and watched it again shortly after it came to digital because I was like, I need to see this movie again, and I'm gonna end up buying the disc at some point when I just decide to do it or find a good price for it. I just everything about that movie was just good, and even when it hits the end of that movie, I'm just like, "The fuck happened?" Sometimes I don't even know if I fully understand the movie, but I enjoyed it, and it just stayed with me. As Don mentioned, the opening scene, I jumped so hard at that opening scene, and then right after that, within like 10 minutes, I jumped twice, and I was like, "Uh-oh, am I gonna be able to handle this movie?" Because they scared the shit out of me twice. And I know jumps are not necessarily like a sign of anything, but they got me good, and I was like, "Huh, uh-oh." So it just, like I said, the whole atmosphere, the vibe, as Don was talking about, that kind of Silence of the Lambs, a little bit slower pace, a little bit like not really knowing. Watching the second time helped clear up some of those things, but it's just was a movie that I just kept thinking about all year long. So I had to put it on here. There's been moments where I moved it up and down, but it was outstanding movie, outstanding.
I'm really sad I haven't watched it yet.
You should, but I don't know, might overhype it now.
Yeah.
I think I could live up to it. What you got, Tony? What was your number 3 movie?
My number 3 is, it's probably just because I watched it most recently. My number 3 is, Alien Romulus. It
Hell
just
yeah.
happened to be that list of, Chris, what came out this year that I could watch? And, I turned it on, man, and, like, I really enjoyed it, man. It took me back to that original Alien, from the opening scene to the set design to the way that the ships looked. We just did that podcast on the original, and I was really impressed at how well it felt like almost a seamless transition between that ship into this, you know, into this one, and showing that, like, I didn't feel like, "Oh, man, it's way different," and I feel like it took me out of the film because it looks like night and day. Like, it seemed like a seamless transition, so, I was impressed with that, and I liked the story. It had some heart to it. There were some similarities between that and the original, which were totally intentional, but it was awesome, and I enjoyed it. Um, just some crossovers and little lines and some Easter eggs and some. Have you seen it yet, Don?
Mhm.
Okay. Like, completely didn't realize that Rook was going to be in it at all, which was really awesome. I'd say that was the one thing, the AI de-aging that they did on him. I almost wish they woulda just went with, like, a straight latex animatronic instead, you know what I mean? Instead of that. But other than that, like, I enjoyed it, man. It was a really, really fun sci-fi horror movie, you know?
I still think about that. I don't know why, but I enjoyed that scene with the zero G acid,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
still think about that scene. I still think about that
Yeah.
scene of them, like, swimming through the air with the acid all, like, floating through zero G. I thought that was so cool.
Her face when she realized it works, when she says it worked, is just like a fun, like, "Oh, yeah, you're doing it. You're doing it." Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome. I've heard a lot of people say good things about it, a lot of people say bad things about it. I'm like, who doesn't like this movie? I don't know if people are just gonna hate it to hate it, but yeah, I really liked it. So that's my number 3.
Very nice.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. That was a solid one. Who's gonna go first with number 2? I guess I can go first with number 2. I think it's my turn.
Sure.
My number 2, not I guess I don't really know how much more to say about it, but Doom 2 was my number 2. I'm following Don one step at a time, so I'm scared to hear what his number 2 is. It's gonna be my number 1. But I really enjoyed Dune Part 2 for all the reasons we podcasted about it, so you can definitely go back into the archives and listen to that. It's just I had to put myself back, but as Don said, there were moments that I remember sitting there in the theater going, "This is probably one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen," whether or not it's even the same scene, and that shows how great this movie was. Because I don't know if Don's greatest scene he's ever saw is the same one that I have in my
I
head.
need to watch this
So
now.
I just remember sitting there in the theater going, "Holy shit, this scene is done." So, and I have, I mean, I have them all behind me. I have all the books. I've read Dune like 4 times. Like, so seeing it brought to life in a way that wasn't David Lynch in 1984 with Sting in a thong is just was something I never thought I would see, never thought that they would be able to pull it off. I was terrified they were going to split it in two because I was 100% convinced that the first part was never going to make enough money for part two to even exist because that's just the way that the shit works.
That was even during COVID time. So
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
that movie came out same day to Max,
Yeah.
because it was during COVID. So it
I
was
went and bought a new TV to watch Dune on Max because I wasn't going to go to the movie to see it as bad as I wanted to because it was in the middle of COVID. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go buy a new TV. And I had to go buy a new truck to carry the new TV to my house. And I did all of that for Dune. I was like, all right, let's buy me a new truck so I can put a big TV in the back so I can come home, hook it up, and watch Dune because I wanted to watch it on as big a screen as possible. True story.
your rear headlights have been stolen 2 times because of Dune.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just
Yes.
doing the just
I'm
doing
not
the
saying it was a good idea across the board, but
Yeah.
it
Like
was
Chris
all
doesn't want to pay for this $15 shipping of this TV. I better spend $50,000 on a truck.
nowhere close to that. But yeah, exactly. I was like, well, I want to get rid of my car. Found a deal on a truck. I can get a new TV to fit in the back barely, and because of the truck I bought. But anyway, this is all doesn't matter. But just showing where Dune 2 falls in like my priorities of things. So yeah, I loved just everything that Don said rings true. An outstanding movie, an achievement. I'm pumped for them to adapt the second book and see what they do with it and see how general audiences enjoy the second book because it is vastly different than the original book. So I'm definitely excited to watch that journey. But yeah, Dune 2 was outstanding. I need to watch it again. It's just long.
Is it weird that I loved Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, but I had like no interest in watching the show that's on HBO right now? The Dune show?
Yeah, I mean, the show's different and it takes place 10,000 years before Dune. So
I
it's
knew
like,
And I knew that, but I was just like, and then when it did come out, people weren't saying much about it. I was like, I guess I ain't missing much.
you
So
didn't.
okay.
We
Just
watched
check.
every episode but the finale and still sitting on the finale, and that's been like 2 weeks. And just like we have one more to watch and just kind of going, I don't want to. And I wasn't even going to until they were like the finale. I was like, well, I guess I could do one more and see how it ends. But even the penultimate one, I was just like, I'm so bored. I'm just not interested. So you didn't miss anything. Whether or not that's a hot take or not, I don't know. But
Okay.
Dune 2,
Don't.
outstanding.
I gotta watch it.
And
Where we at?
who's what's your number 2, Tony?
My number 2 is one that I think I only watched because Chris told me to watch it. And I was happy to see when I was looking through a list that it came out in 2024. And I did not want to watch this movie because I saw the trailer and I was like, this looks bad. This looks stupid. I was like, these effects look so dumb because the one that was made before it, the effects were amazing and everything was in camera. So when I saw the trailer for Furiosa, I was like, I was so mad because when I heard they were going to make it, I was excited. When I saw that first trailer, I was like, this looks so bad. I'm really annoyed they went straight CGI. And Chris, you were like, no, hey, you should actually watch it. I'm like, Chris likes a lot of movies. I don't know. And then I watched it and I was like, dude, Furiosa was good as hell. And that's why it's my number 2, man. Like, I thought she did an awesome job. I don't even know the guy who played her driver was, but like their relationship that they had was awesome. Like everything about it was cool. Like even like who's the main not the
Hemsworth.
big bad in that, but her
Hemsworth.
big bad. Yeah, like he even did a great job. You know what I mean? Like it was just fun and violent, and it was the pacing I thought was really good. It took time when it needed to, but all the action was nice. Like, yeah, I dug Furiosa. That's one that I went into that with a bad attitude and came out really happy that I watched it. So that's why it's my number 2 spot. I definitely dug it. Yeah, I know, Chris, I know you liked it. Don, I'm not sure if you saw it or not.
I haven't, and it was gonna be one of the movies I was gonna try to cram in here at the end.
Yeah.
But just didn't. So yeah.
I'm still amazed at how bad that movie did in theaters and for the stupid reasons that I'm sure it did. And just
Well, what are the reasons?
there were a lot of people that didn't want to see a prequel, and there was a lot of people that didn't want to see a female lead. It wasn't Mad Max, so they didn't want to see it. Now, granted, those are all the same people who love Fury Road and
I was gonna say,
didn't
are these
realize that Fury
parents
Road
there?
was Furiosa's movie. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say Charlize Theron was pretty much the lead in the one.
100% was.
Yeah. Just
So,
because
yeah,
Tom
it's
Hardy was in it doesn't mean it was a Tom Hardy
he
movie, right?
he was 100%. Mad Max in Fury Road was 100% the supporting character in that movie. It was Furiosa's story. It was her pain. It was her. He was just there. He was just there, so we had a reason to be there as an audience. But it was her movie. So going back and seeing more about her, I always thought was the natural progression of things. Based on how Fury Road went. So yeah, I don't really know, but those were the main things. I can understand the prequel. Sometimes that turns me off, but yeah, that one was fun.
It was awesome. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch. I want to watch it here in the next few. Maybe it would have cracked my list, but we'll see. So the last number 2, I guess, is me.
Yep.
We always get a little.
It's gonna be my number one. I know it.
No, because we always get a little crossover heavy here, so I'm gonna cross over one of your guys' movies you already did.
Love it.
2 for me. I'll echo Alien Romulus. For all the same reasons Tony said. Move on. No, just kidding. No, it was very good. It was like the best, I think. I don't even want to call it an action movie, but just like a movie with a lot of action in it. But it's also like super sci-fi. If you're a fan of the Alien series, like Tony said, nice carryover from the first movie. I thought the story was great for it being like timeline between Alien 1 and Alien 2. It feels like it should be like right in there. It feels like a natural thing. Like, oh, this is an event that would have happened after Alien. I don't know, dude. It was just really well put together movie. A lot of fun, a lot of scares. With today's technology, and you're still using the story back from these 70s movies, you can do a lot more now with like the aliens and the face huggers had a lot of scary moments in this. And like in that first Alien movie, the face huggers just kind of like pop on your face and run away, and that's it. In this movie, no, they're flying all around the place and scary as hell. And I have arachnophobia, so I'm scared of things that look like spiders. So these things running a mile a minute at people. Yeah, dude, just great. Like Tony said, the performances, I think the main girl, I can't think of her name. She was in Civil War also. She was really good. She
Yeah.
looks a lot like Ellie from Last of Us video games. Every time I'm looking at her, I'm like,
Yeah,
they could have cast her as Ellie.
totally.
She looks more like her than the girl they did cast. She's great.
She did a great job, but
I've said it a million times. I enjoy the girl that cast. She was a horrible cast.
Just
Like she does a good job with the acting wise, but just I don't know. There's something about her that never still, and I adore that show. And anyway,
yeah. But on looks alone, I'm saying this girl, like if you wanted to cast a girl who looks more like Ellie, that would have been all right. Just saying.
yeah.
And the guy who played the android, Andy,
Oh, unbelievable.
yeah,
I think it's David Johnson. That performance was probably the best of this whole movie.
Yeah,
He was super believable as a android, or as they call him something else like a synthetic or something like that.
that's what he prefers.
Yeah, yeah. But he was fantastic, dude, because he played at the beginning of this movie. He was like, the docile, scared, doing what he wants. But then as soon as the chip changes, he changes into this hard ass who's just like works for the company, and he just was back and forth so seamlessly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Of course, all the xenomorph scenes were really cool, and like Chris said, the acid that was floating in the zero gravity was a brilliant scene. I don't know. I just really liked this movie. I thought it was
plus,
really good.
plus the unexpected giant offspring at the end.
Yeah, that thing was scary as hell, like the human xenomorph hybrid or whatever.
Yeah,
Dude,
I'm just like, what is happening?
That whole birthing scene was rough, and then that was rough. But
When they finally got rid of when they finally got rid of the xenomorph, and I looked and I pressed pause, I was like, there's still 20 minutes left of this movie. Like, what the hell are they gonna do? Like, and then they did some crazy shit to like end of that third act. But yeah, man, I think this movie is worth a watch and really good, and definitely kind of almost revitalizes the Alien franchise a little bit.
100%.
Makes me excited for the Alien show that's coming out on Hulu and whatever movie they want to do next. So Yeah,
I definitely hope was Fede Alvarez, I think, was the director of that one. I really hope he stays involved because his touch. I loved his Evil Dead remake that he did in, I think, 2013. Like, I loved that movie. And if you were going to do Evil Dead, he was like perfect for that. And I followed him since then. And when I knew he was doing that movie, I was super excited for it. And the marketing made me expect it to be more disgusting or like more Evil Deadish. I thought he was really going to lean a little bit heavier into the Evil Dead gore, and I personally felt that he didn't. He kept it more Alien level gore instead of Evil Dead because those are two definitely different levels of gore.
Oh yeah, dude.
But I
It
was
didn't ra-
expecting
it
Evil
didn't
Dead.
rain
So
blood once in this movie.
I know, right? Where's the yeah? I was expecting that, but I did go home and watch Evil Dead after I watched Alien Romulus just to kind of like get that scratch that itch. But anyway, I hope he stays involved in that franchise.
I think they're talking about he wants to or he's going to, and like even him and the director of Prey, the last Predator movie, we're talking
Yeah.
about figuring out a way to bring those two franchises together again, which would be something. So we'll see.
Maybe they'll do it right because nobody has, right? There hasn't been a good Alien Predator crossover, right?
They were fine.
I'm not going to say I didn't like that first one in Antarctica. I think you and I think Tony, didn't we go to the show to see that? I feel
We
like we
might
went to the
have.
show and saw the first one. I still enjoy that movie for what it was. The second one was trash, but the first one was solid enough. Solid enough. I didn't say it
Oh
was
yeah,
good.
enough.
Solid enough. They had a decent enough premise.
It
A
was a movie.
competent enough director with Paul, what's his name? Resident Evil and Mortal Kombat, Paul T. Anderson, or I always get him confused with the fancy one who did like Magnolia and
Oh, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul Thomas Anderson, and then there's like P.T. Anderson or something.
Gotcha.
There's like two Andersons, and their names are very similar. One's married to Mila Jovovich, and the other one makes movies with Daniel Day-Lewis.
There you go.
So it's confusing. No, Alien Romulus, dope.
Yeah, it rules.
We're number one. Here we are. Drum roll. Anybody want to volunteer to go first with their number one?
I'm gonna say it because I feel like you guys have the same one. I also feel like we've all talked about this movie before.
All right, let's go.
Go.
All right. Deadpool Wolverine. All right.
There it is.
There it is. The movie rolled. I know we already had a podcast about that, but it was so much fun. And that was another thing when I was looking at the list of what was made in 2024 and that was on there. I was like, well, yeah, that's the best movie I've seen this year. It was the most satisfying it's been leaving a movie theater again for me in years. So, yeah. It's fun. You guys know I'm not a big comic reader, but I know that in the comics that this has been such a long time coming and the fans have been waiting for this for so long. So it was even satisfying for me to finally see it. So, yeah, the movie's just super fun, Marvel, chaos, and yeah, a really great time. So that's my number one pick. What about you guys?
What you got, Don?
Deadpool Wolverine would have made my list if I would have a few more picks, most definitely. Awesome movie. I did struggle with that one at the end.
Threw a curveball. I was starting to write it down already.
Oh, no, I'm just giving my salute to Tony's number one pick. Definitely, of course, one of the better movies of the year. I just loved how it was like it brought Marvel back for me in my mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
Since we're doesn't sound like, and I could be wrong,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like we're going to continue talking about this movie. So I want to say one thing with Deadpool Wolverine. The only reason that it didn't make my list was the fact that, as Tony said, when he left the movie theater, he was like felt good.
Yeah.
And for me, whenever I look back at that movie, I always think back at the fact that my audience didn't care about anything. So like I sat there, I felt like I was the only one in the theater having a good time. Like everyone else seemed like they didn't get any of the cameos. They didn't get any of the jokes, like a couple chuckles here and there, but I'm like, who are these people? And really wanted that like cheering when Blade shows up. And I'm like, you got nothing? Like nobody does anybody know that that's Blade? Does anybody know that Chris Evans was the Human Torch? Like it seemed like everything went over their heads and they just sat there
Yeah.
because they like were obligated to be there. And because of that, that movie just never stayed in my head enough for me to be like, yeah, of course it's written down here as honorable mentions and stuff, but I just that was my thing with Deadpool Wolverine. Anyway, Don, number one, Deadpool Wolverine.
Don, what's your pick? What's your pick?
It's not Deadpool Wolverine. Could have been, but my number one of the year, and it's another one that wasn't too long ago. Hundreds of Beavers.
Oh my
Man,
God, he
I'll-
did it.
Dude, I went to watch that the other day, and it said it came out in 2021, and I was like, "Oh, this doesn't count for me then."
Oh, listen, they made it in 2022. They filmed it in 2022, but it didn't release until this year because they couldn't get it released.
Fuck, man, I was gonna watch this the other day for this.
Okay, so it's a 2024 movie. Oh, God, you got to watch this thing if you haven't seen it.
The trailer and the clips that I've seen, it looks amazing.
Dude, honestly, it's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
My whole life.
Dude, there are parts in that movie that are so funny.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Just the way, and the reason it really gets there, like it made me laugh a ton of times, which is great. Like a comedy making your number one is hard to do itself, but a movie this funny deserves it. But just like the originality of this movie,
Oh, the style of it, man. Just how they do their film. It's wild.
yeah, it's mind blowing to me that like you filmed it like a 19th century slapstick comedy. There's barely any dialogue in this movie except a couple songs or a song here and there. You got human beings dressed up in like Disney mascot costumes, playing beavers and rabbits and squirrels, and it's all just like visual comedy. It's like you're watching a fucking episode of the Looney Tunes or like Three
Yeah.
Stooges or something. But it's just so well put together, and like it kind of plays like a video game sometimes too, where it's like this guy, it's like an RPG where you're watching this guy build his plan, and like you got to follow the maps and you got to. It's hard to explain, but dude,
I got to
just,
see this.
just watch it. Like it's
What's that one on?
Amazon.
it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon?
Yeah. But even for people out there listening, like if you haven't even heard of this movie, like find it. It's if you want to laugh and just see something completely original, like unlike anything you've really ever seen, because nobody's dared to make this. They did it on $150,000 budget or something. They use the same kind of like technique sometimes that Wes Anderson uses, is like you want to see a big place in the distance. Oh, I made it out of a toy and it's up here in the corner, and just we're gonna make it look like whatever.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, just this isn't our list for the best movies of the year, but it's our favorite. And
Your
like,
favorite.
I didn't have a better time watching a movie than this, I think,
Nice.
the whole year. So
I was going to say that movie was the most fun I've had watching a movie all year. Sitting there watching that movie, I did have the most fun watching that movie. It was a good time. And if you are interested, I'm going to do I already told Don this, but I'm going to do a cheap plug here. But if you're interested in having that movie shown in an area near you, hit us an email at raisethegeek@gmail.com, because I know the producer and the distributor and the director of that film, because we've been working with them on the Sherlock Holmes film that I've been working on with a friend that's coming out in January. And the guy from Hundreds of Beavers was like, "How'd you get in that theater?" And we were like, "We did it this way." And like a week later, Hundreds of Beavers was playing at my theater. So if you're interested in it playing in a theater near you and check it out on the big screen with an audience, hit us an email and let me know, and I can get you in contact with the distributor.
Dude, you got them distribution.
We got them distribution. Yeah.
You are responsible for Hundreds of Beavers getting distribution.
At least in San Antonio.
That's awesome.
At least in San Antonio. And if you're in the San Antonio or Texas area, Sherlock Holmes Mayor of the Night coming to theaters January 24th. Just a cheap plug
That's
at the end
gonna
of the
be on
show
my-
that no one will hear.
My top 5 list for next year, or for
There it
this
is.
year.
There it is. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. I really wish Don would have went last. Really wish Don would have went last with number one.
That was you, Chris.
He was so
Really?
happy, and it was such a joyous way to just walk into the night, and I'm going to come in and shit all over it. My
Wait.
number one and it's been my number one for a while since I saw it, and I rewatched it this week just to kind of confirm that it really was my number one movie. And my number one movie, it is now streaming on HBO, so everyone I feel should go watch it, is I Saw the TV Glow. I adored that movie. It's not fun. Like, there's a lot of heaviness to it, but I just loved that movie. The indie music vibe that they had, the performances by Justice Smith and Bridget Payne from Atypical, just like it just dives into this show about identity. It's about this like basically like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer type TV show that exists, that these two characters are drawn to for different reasons. And then it goes into like whether or not that TV show is real on another dimension, and are these people involved, and it like goes down a really weird path. But then there's also like a very much more grounded path about just identity and who we are as people and our fears and our things, and it's layered in there with this weird kind of like dreamlike story. And then you kind of just start to put yourself in some of these shoes, especially if you've kind of found yourself in situations where you felt like an outcast in some way, or you didn't really connect with the people around you. And it's just, there's so many levels to it. And it was just one that when I watched, I kind of was like, okay, I really liked that movie, but I don't really know why. And then I looked up, and I was, sometimes you'll just go Google like the ending of a movie or do stuff and just try to learn more about it. And I read an article that I think Variety put out that really layered in more of what the movie was about in its own way. And it just kind of like, poof. And I was like, holy shit, it was. And I didn't really realize it. And then I watched it and I was like, man. And then just trying to connect with other people. Like, the movie hit me on a whole other level of just people and the world. And it just kind of stuck with me all year long since I watched it the first time. And rewatching it again, I just loved it. It was just told, it's not a happy movie. It's sad, but it's just the way it's put together is just amazing. And I really didn't have a doubt that it was my number one, and rewatching it, it's just there. So I Saw the TV Glow, my number one movie of the year.
It's on my list. It's one of the ones I was going to try to fit in before this podcast. I didn't have time to.
Same.
Is that A24 or Neon?
A24.
A24? Okay. Yeah, it's on my list, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear you talk about it, because couldn't remember if you liked it or not. I remember you saw it, but we didn't talk about it. So yeah, I'll probably watch that and a couple of these other things, hopefully this week or next week.
Yeah, like I said, I really liked it, but yeah, it's a different kind of level. So that's where I was like, man, as I'm sitting here like getting all emotional thinking about it, I'm like, man, I wish Don would go last with Hundreds of Beavers. So Hundreds of Beavers, Slapstick Valley at its best.
Just that's also like the craziness of this is there's still so many movies we haven't seen.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Like give me 2 weeks and this list could be completely different. But
100%.
I tend to not keep up with movies right during the year, and then here at the end of the year when we want to do these lists, I'm like, I watch so many things. So
and I had so many honorable mentions. I was sitting here on like Abigail. I loved that movie. I would watch
I don't know what that is.
that's the movie where it's a vampire movie. Where
that little girl that was attacking everyone, the
Dude,
doll?
That movie was so much fun. Like, I remember
Really?
sitting here watching this movie and it ended, and I was just like, I don't know why I had so much fun watching that movie. Is it good? Probably not. But is it fun? Hell yeah, that was fun.
Right.
And
Hey, if
once
you like
again,
it, you like it.
I kept thinking about it. Godzilla X Kong. I mean, when I sat there in the theater and when I watched Godzilla do a vertical suplex off a pyramid to King Kong, I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen.
Do you guys feel like I feel like when we were younger, and maybe it's just we don't have time now as adults, but like we used to watch everything.
Yeah.
Any movie that came out, we'd see, and then we'd watch movies multiple times, and we'd watch like everything. And now I'm lucky if I see
There's too much.
there's way too much content, man.
Yeah, it's just too much content. You're trying to keep up with everything. So, I mean, it's not only, and that's where when I'm sending all those lists with 2024 and their movies, and it's page after page after page. How many of them were like streaming exclusives? How many were, there's so many streaming services. I mean, a lot of my 2024 came from watching Shudder movies that came out in 2024. It's like, yeah, I watched 47, but there are a bunch of weird foreign, horror movies that are on Shudder.
How much is Shudder a month?
I was doing through AMC Plus, so it was like, I think 9.
Okay. I've been recommended to watch Oddity and Azrael.
I haven't watched Oddities. Awesome. That was
I've heard
I
it's
had that. That
incredible,
was creeping
right.
up to the top. If we had
But I know
if we did top 10s, Oddity would probably be in there.
It's also
I
easy.
got to get AMC Plus or Shudder or something.
It's also easier to watch a bunch of movies when you have like a part-time job and work 6 to 10, like 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Full-time
Now that we're
jobs,
full time, it's a little different.
full-time jobs and families and responsibilities and blah 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 make it a little harder. But yeah, man.
That's not to say 2025 is here now, and we got some crazy movies coming out this year. We get Superman, getting Captain America, we're getting Fantastic Four, we're getting Thunderbolts, and that's just superhero movies that I can think of. How many other movies are coming out? Sinners with Michael B. Jordan, hell yeah.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah, which I forgot about until I was watching it, like most anticipated, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot that movie existed.
Dude, that trailer looks awesome.
So 2025, ready to roll.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Maybe I can be a little more prepared for next year. I'll start watching movies a little earlier now.
Get that letterbox account so you can keep track.
Dude, that thing's wild.
I started one.
Yeah,
me too.
It's fun. I've done it now the last couple of years, and being able to look back at your diary and just see everything that you watched over the course of the year is just kind of fun to look back at. We'll sit here, sit here now in January and be like, okay, that's why I was writing down what everybody was, because I'm going to go out there and then be like, what did everyone pick? What was their favorite movies? And, we like to put together our favorite movies of the year and stuff. So Letterboxd is awesome. It's like the only social media I use. It's not even really social media.
Well, sponsor us yet.
Not yet. We'll be asking what your most recent 4 is before we know it. But I think we all hit our top 5. Tony, name your top 5. Let's do a quick name through and we'll get out of here.
Oh, starting with 5, Quiet Place Day 1. 4 is Horizon. 3, Alien Romulus. 2, Furiosa. And 1, Deadpool Wolverine.
I had at number 5, Nosferatu. Number 4, Longlegs. Number 3, Dune 2. Number 2, Alien Romulus. And number 1, Hundreds of Thieves.
Wonderful. And mine was, forgot, number 5, A Real Pain. Number 4, Heretic. Number 3, Longlegs. Number 2, Dune 2. And number 1, I Saw the TV Glow. So those were our favorite movies of 2024. What do you think about those lists out there? If you've watched any of those movies, agree with us, disagree with us, what are your favorite movies? You know how to let us know. Hit us up on social media over at Raise the Geek across all social media platforms. You can also shoot us an email, raisethegeek@gmail.com. All that information is down in the description of wherever you are watching / listening to us. And make sure also in that description you can get that link, magicmind.com/raisedageek, Jan. Down there for 45% off your Magic Mind bundle. Use that link, so definitely check all that out. You guys have any final thoughts about 2024 as we move on to 2025?
Get bet 2024. Welcome 2025.
Yeah, going in with optimism because we're chugging Magic Mind.
It's true. It helps.
It's true. Super positive. Well, then with that said, with Get Bent 2024, I think that's going to do it for us this week. So for Raise the Geek, I'm Chris.
And I'm Don.
And I'm Tony.
And thanks for checking out the show.
Where geek is all we speak.